Candace Cooper. We have Michael the Peace Stealer here. He's an astrologer, and we're going to just jump into a few questions for, you know, I feel like I want to talk to you about Pluto moving into Aquarius, why everybody hates Geminis.
Word.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm a big fan of the podcast world, and
Yeah.
there's been a lot of infighting amongst the podcasters. And it's between Aries podcasters and Gemini podcasters. And so, right. And so when I was analyzing what the fights were about, it really kind of like brought me back to even like thinking about Kanye and Trump
Hmm.
and how they like what I've noticed about Geminis is they want to expose the truth. They're very much, and I think that they get a bad rap because it's like the twins,
Hmm.
the two-face, the, changing of the mind. But what I've noticed when it comes to like politics or entertainment, a lot of the Geminis are getting ostracized because they just want to speak the truth.
That's it.
So what do you think that's about? Do you think that the sun sign or the rising sign Gemini is very truthful? Do you think that it might be other influences in their chart that makes them want to bring? And I noticed that a lot of people lie about them as well.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yes. So I'm wondering, what do you think that's about?
Gemini is actually a Capricorn with no attention span. So that's why, in a lot of ways. But like I love that question so much. First of all, this is the first time I've done this go live with someone on YouTube. I didn't know it was just on your phone. I tried to do desktop, so this is cool. And I just love that I had you on my channel a while ago, and now I'm on your channel. That is amazing. I'm very honored. And
Yes.
I feel like now that I'm in my Saturn return in my 30s, I appreciate Gemini as a vibration so much more. The moon, the rising, the sun, all the mutable signs are aspects of perspective. And Sagittarius is going to give you the meaning of the word in the dictionary. Gemini is that word. So uh, when people understand that Gemini is like a 7-year-old kid, like Kanye said, he's a 38-year-old, a rich 38-year-old, 8-year-old with rich people problems, right? And it's like kids say the darndest things. Like people got mad at Trump because of his tweets. So there's a non-politically correct raw way Gemini will just say it like it is is not really sensitive to emotion like Cancer or Pisces that cares about what other people may think about what's being said. Gemini is just honest to a fault. And I love to use the example of Russell Brand because uh, you can argue that Kanye West is honest, but he says things that gets him into trouble. You can say that Trump is very polarizing. Russell Brand has never hurt anybody, and he got a accusation because he was telling the truth. He was just being very honest. And Neptune and Pisces, it's happened to Virgo and Sag, has been twisting the meaning of the words Gemini says. Because at the end of the day, Gemini as a sign and a vibration is that open doorway into, you know, establishing what someone is or what something is. And it's not really the Gemini that they're angry at, it's the message they're angry at. So they just take it out on the Gemini messenger and literally trying to shoot the messenger. And it's been interesting to see with risings and moons too. You'll see it with the suns because that's the spirit. But yeah.
Okay. Is Russell Brand a Gemini?
Yes, I learned that. Yeah, he's actually a
Oh,
Gemini. Dated the Scorpio Katy Perry. And one thing I love about the Aries is Gemini's brother and best friend. So I know that Logan Paul, the original heel, because Aries is the villain and the heel, even if they're a good person or like an anti-villain or hero, And then Gemini is, could be in between Aries and Leo. So Logan Paul and KSI used to beef. Now they make millions of dollars together because of the Taurus energy in between. So it's interesting to see how Aries and Gemini will argue, but then could still connect. But Aries gets very instinctual and defensive, and Gemini is going to talk back. Like, we're going to be petty. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the two podcaster or the radio hosts and the podcaster that I'm like referencing when I'm talking about this beef, they were very good friends for like 30 plus years.
Oh, okay.
And that had like this major, very vicious falling out with the Aries accusing. I don't know if you've ever heard of the comedian Heather McDonald,
Mm.
but she's Gemini, and her Aries radio host friend literally accused her of stealing these earrings, but they weren't really even expensive. Yeah, so it was like this whole thing, and I wonder if, because they had such a long friendship, I was like, I wonder if um they could ever come back around and be friends
They
again.
totally. I hate to interrupt you, but that you really nailed it right there, because like Aries is 0 to 2 years old and Gemini is like 7 to 9. So when we argue, it's like kids arguing. Like, if we could just get over the petty shit, we'd always get back together. But I love how, like, it's not to say that there isn't important stuff between those two, but like we argue like kids with each other. Like, it's interesting.
Well, I think that Gemini has the gift of like Geminis just make me laugh so hard. Like, I know that everybody hates Trump and everything. I don't know. I'm a New Yorker. I grew up with him, and
Right, right.
I but the way he says things, and I don't know if I laugh at it because I have a Gemini rising, or if because I'm a New Yorker and he breaks
Ah,
balls like a
Gemini
New
Rising.
Yorker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Gemini rising. So, but I'm like, he makes me laugh so hard. But like it just, and
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
well, maybe doesn't get him because he's a New Yorker. And unless you grew up on the East Coast or you grew up in New York, like, people are fucking mean. People are, it's a harsh winter, a harsh, long winter. It's a hard life, which builds character.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
need comedy and you need a sense of humor to survive those kinds of conditions on a long term basis. So
Hmm.
I wonder if the rest of the country just doesn't know how to metabolize him because he is such an example of a New Yorker.
They're
Um,
soft. They're weak and they're soft. And they just
yeah,
it's just, I love how like the Gemini rising is gonna identify with the Gemini sun. So it's like you'll get the nuances and inflection in what he's saying versus people going
yes,
out of their way to like make a villain of him. And what Gemini taught me was, you have Epstein, who has like done sex trafficking. You have L.A. Reid, who's getting accusations about that. But most of these prominent Geminis that are getting like trying to get canceled or hated on, it's always based on what they said. That's something that Virgo and Gemini stay get in trouble for. Like, Virgo will just say how they feel and people will take offense of it. They'll just be real. Gemini will say things that people don't like and they never get at them for what they do. Kanye West even said that. He's like, I've never killed anyone, I've never shot anyone, raped anyone. But the best they can do is just lobby false accusations. Why? Because they need to kill the messenger. They know that ideas are contagious. So, whatever they can do to put the collective against us.
there's something about Geminis that very unique, great with communication. I just think the rest of the world, I think the people that don't like are just soft, totally.
Yeah. Uh-uh.
I think a lot of America has been really coddled since the 90s.
Yeah.
So they're just not going to get it. Like the 70s, the 80s, we had a rough go of it, so we're like, yes, we understand. We
Even
get
George
that.
Bush Sr. George Bush Sr. is a Gemini. JFK is a Gemini. So,
Get
it's,
it? Wow,
yeah. And
really?
JFK literally died because he said too much. Like
Right.
that's it.
Wow. Okay. Well, what's very interesting about JFK Jr., I have a very similar chart to Carolyn Bissett. So she was a
Mm,
Capricorn with a Cancer moon,
mhm.
my childhood. Um,
Wow, that's
she
deep.
passed away and I almost passed away.
Wow.
So very interesting. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I just feel like kind of like a weird kinship with that family. I didn't learn her chart until very, very recently.
Right. Right.
And I was like, wait a second, when did she die? She died in 99. I was like, oh my God, I had a lot of really horrible things happen to me in that year too. So do you think that what do you think about escaping death? What do you think about, is it in the chart? Is like is she was also kind of like a little bit of a black sheep of the
Hmm.
kind of group that they were hanging out in. A lot of
Yeah.
people badmouthed her to
Yeah.
JFK Jr. and kind of
Wow.
like dragged her a lot, trying to say like stay away from her.
Mm.
Do you find that Capricorns get a lot of slander?
Oh, absolutely. Capricorn is like Jeff Bezos getting slander because he finally made it and now he's making too much money. So it's like, but see, Capricorn is to me that I'm biased, Cap Moon, but Capricorn really is the greatest zodiac sign because they cover all those bases. Like the mistakes Gemini is making, Capricorn is not making, and of course they can maneuver and whatnot. But I used to be skeptical about like coincidences like that when you share the same sun and moon, and then I'm learning more and more they are all correlated, and it's interesting to keep in mind. Like that was very profound what you said. And I mean personally, death has been a major revelation in following Saturn transits, Pluto transits. The ruler of your fourth house will actually let you know the conditions of your death and where that ruler of your fourth is. For example, like someone who has Leo fourth house, ruler of the sun in a second, they're going to retain their mind far into old age or something like that. And I'm going to do more case study to kind of really more, see the evidence in this. But one thing that I've seen evidence of course, it doesn't happen to everyone, thank God. But I mean, I've recorded several people who've died or got canceled when Saturn opposed their sun. 180 degrees of open enemies. Pop Smoke got killed to the degree when Saturn was opposite his sun. Cancer, he died in the home from home invaders, open enemies. And then a Leo died. Leo is the social sign. If Cancer's home, a Leo died in a social setting, an ice cream shop from a group of people, Saturn Aquarius, who like, killed him. So yeah, it's crazy. It's very crazy. Yeah. Thank you. It is. It is. Mhm.
Is it Libra, Aries?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What do you have any insight into that?
Well, a lot of this is a not continuation, but I want to say completion of the North Node Libra 10 years ago. So, a lot of the relationships that we had to work towards to build, now that we have completed that, we can walk away from most of those relationships. A lot of the people who, regardless of zodiac sign, that relative to Libra, we had to connect with, we had to come out of our comfort zones, out of our identities, or rather our selfishness to compromise with other people. All the people over the past 10 years, well, we've all grown and evolved. And the same people who we might have made it with are not all the people that we're going to move forward with. And the South Node Libra is happening during a period of social distancing It was interesting learning that Leo is social, Virgo is social, Libra is social, Scorpio is social. Social being the integration of one's individuality from Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer, where now, of course, by Leo, we leave the parents' house, we start to develop our identity in school, socially outside of us, making it more super. So all the planets, all the outer planets are empty. There's nothing in the socials, and that's when we started social distancing. And now the South Node is in Libra. So like everything that constituted our culture, everything that was popping in the past 10, 20 years is dead. We're getting ready to create a new society, and this is bringing everyone back to the core of who they are. So in October, before we had the Libra eclipse, I was warning people saying, hey, this is the road to warfare. This is happening while Saturn is ending the world and destabilizing a lot of political territories that have been powerful for so long. They're about to just fizzle. Like, it's crazy to think in our lifetime, countries like Russia and China and America that have had dominance will be a laughing stock. Like, they're not even going to be powerful anymore. And that's crazy to
Yeah.
go through in our lifetime. It's not going to look like that. But I mean, banks are already starting to foreclose. And what I warned was, once we step into that eclipse, that's the road to warfare. We're going to get ready for crazy conflicts because the last time Pluto was in this spot, we had every revolutionary war, the French Revolution, Haitish Revolution. It's an awakening of humanity that brings mass extinction events through pestilence, war, famine. So, of course, by the time that happened, Israel declared war against Hamas, and there's been this new proxy war. And that road to warfare is from Libra to Aries. By the time we get to the Aries eclipse, 2024, Pluto and Aquarius, it's revolution. It could be a civil war. It could be a world war coming into the next few years. But the real war is this war over our individual rights and liberties. The forces at play realize that there's too many people on the earth. There's too much resources to share, and that's too many people to lie to. We've tried to control the population, Saturn and Aquarius, as they do every 30 years. And thankfully, now that we're getting ready to pivot as a collective into a new individual direction, I think the war over the next 2 years is, are we going to allow the lies and false narratives to overcome our individual right and will? Because basically, when they tell it, because now they're starting to tell us farting, breathing, burping is fucking up the world for climate change. So when they tell us, oh, you're not allowed to breathe, you have to pay to breathe, are we going to stand up and just be like, fuck you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or are we going to let them do that? Which is basically the question.
Right. Well, Aries is so combative, and Pluto in Aquarius is, well, I worry about Pluto in Aquarius because Aquarius on one side is doing the right thing for the collective, and then Aries or Aquarius on the other side is being so individualistic.
Yeah.
So the eclipse is in Aries with the Pluto in Aquarius. What do you think? What do you like?
Great
Do you
question.
think? Yeah,
So
what do you think?
Libra is the opposite of Aries, where Aries is going to do something for themselves. Aries is going to do it with someone else. Aquarius is literally Aries that knows what they're doing. So the relationship between Aries and Aquarius is the age-old adage of, if Aquarius is my circle of friends and Aries is me, then who I am is going to be influenced by where I belong. So
Mm,
Aquarius is, and when learning that Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and Taurus are the four anti-social signs because they're opposite the four social signs. Aquarius feeds into Aries revolution. That's the one whispering through Pisces. So it's such a good question because Aries is combative. And I think the major feature of the 2024 elections is in combating the corruption. Like, for example, Colorado and New Mexico not even putting Trump on the ballot. I think what we're going to see are individuals stand up against the system in mass and be like, if you're rigging the playing field, we're not going to play anymore. And that might be how it kind of starts. People, it's that's where we are the revolution. Like, it's going to be the revolution of the individual versus, of
mhm.
course, the corruption of these government or collective forces who have to be put back in check, whether from within or outside. And it's cool because the last time the Revolutionary War happened, Pluto was in Capricorn. The last civil war that happened, Neptune was in Aries and Uranus was in Gemini. And by 2026, Neptune's going to be in Aries and Uranus is going to be in Gemini. Trump's going to have his return. So this is where, whether people like Trump or not, I don't consider him a savior, but he is a main character that is destined to lead America into its next revolution. And a lot of people think that he has to win the election. He doesn't have to. If he gets locked up in prison, it's going to spark revolution. If he gets elected, it's going to spark revolution. If he
Right.
doesn't get elected, it's going to spark. That's why the government is so afraid of him. They are terrified of his access to 70 million plus Americans who know he's the man. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
What a tremendous responsibility he him. Like what just the fact of like waking up every day. I've experienced that on a micro scale. Like the people in my
Mhm.
high school growing up really didn't like me. And I just knew every single day it was going to be a struggle. But I can only imagine. I don't even want to imagine, but it's got to be so like he handles it in stride, but
Mhm.
that's got to be such a pressure
He
to
loves it.
know that you are the linchpin in what's going to happen, you know?
I bet he loves the
That's
hate too. I'm sure he's with it. And it's such a good point too, because yeah, I mean, a lot of how I speak about Trump makes people feel like I'm a supporter. And at first, I was very indifferent. It wasn't until the reason why I really logically realized Trump is important is I would ask people why they don't like him. And I have not heard any sound logic behind why they don't like him. I've never heard anyone break down for real why he's racist, why they don't like him without regurgitating false narratives, getting in their feelings. And, it's important for people to understand that I don't really say what I say about Trump because I think he's a good person. Like, should it come out that this man might actually not be the best person, I will still tell you he's the guy. This is the man. It's not about me thinking he's good or not. It's beyond
you're
all
right,
that. I think he's a good person, but if it ends up he's not, it's
but you
it's just
recognize
still the force.
important. And I just think that it's so interesting that Biden is a Scorpio and death and rebirth and secrecy and you know,
Yes, yes. It's literally angels versus demons. It is literally like Biden has a royal chart, Juno on the rising, and then the 12th house Scorpio. He's an ascended demon lord, all royal. His vice president is Lucifer. Like, it's the
that's
most,
yeah.
it's crazy. And I wanted to ask you, as a Gemini rising, first of all, I love your TikToks. Like, please don't ever change what you're doing. They're fucking amazing. It's just so great brevity. You nail it. And the Gemini rising is the angel embodiment. Like, have you? I feel like a lot of the North Node Gemini, and then Jupiter's going to go through your sign, give you a new 12-year debut. Especially if you've been feeling like things are falling apart, like it's about to hook it up. Do you feel like an angel? Like, have you really tapped into being this messenger or word?
It's funny you say that actually because so forever so I was an actor for 20 years and then I went into being a hairstylist for 13 years and I've just been praying to God so much lately because I am feeling this like very weird pull um like I want to be successful as a hairstylist, but I think and it's been 13 years and it's been very kind of like stagnant. So I've been praying and praying and asking God like what is it you want me to do? Like and I am a communicator.
Mhm.
And I had to analyze how I was acting with my hair clients. I love talking. I love sharing. I love, kind of like broaching the sensitive topics of the world and the universe in a compassionate way, not in like a combative way. And I don't know why I've had, TikTok for a few years. I have just been throwing everything at TikTok because I was like, this might be the platform that enables me to just share everything that I've been through. It might end up reaching the right person. It might not, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I've been like praying. There was a lot of stagnancy. Also, I'm a Capricorn, so the last 15
Mhm.
years have been like really.
Yeah.
I lost friends. I got a divorce. I'm estranged from everyone in my family at this point.
Mm.
And my mom is a Libra, my grandma is an Aries, my sister is a Gemini with a Scorpio rising. Her husband
Mm.
is a triple Scorpio. So I really am on my own in this experience in life. And I know that I had all this
True
pain
individual.
because I'm supposed to communicate it. Like I was
Right.
supposed to survive that trauma. And also Gemini is in my first and second house.
Right. Okay. So okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
like communication and looks and I've just been really feeling this crazy push to communicate with the masses.
Right.
My trauma.
And it's good to see like Saturn is going through your career house. So that's
Yeah.
what's gonna make everything stick. And that's like the hardest part of having Pisces in the 10th house because Pisces is invisible. So the reputation is going to be marred with gossip and projections. People think Pisces MCs are delusional when they're divine and visionary. So it's like a lot of that success couldn't have been seen. Kind of like I didn't know I would make a living doing this. I was told this is impossible. And that's where like this Saturn transit is literally materializing your every dream. And I want to share a video link with you after, which I think will help like supercharge. It's a law of assumption video, but I feel like Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, y'all are able to do it on steroids. It's just gonna kind of align it for you. But yeah, that Jupiter going through your rising is gonna set everything off for you. It's basically like the last 12 years you set everything in play. And I feel like especially with the heavy karmic energies, I feel like a lot of us agreed to just give away our effort the first 30 years of our life so
Mhm.
that this next cycle we can just relax and get everything. And you cleared it all.
Well, as a Capricorn, I'm about to turn 40 in January.
Right.
So I always said ever since I was little, I have to I have to take care of myself, like my skin and everything. I said because I'm not going to be successful until after I'm 40.
Hmm.
Like I just always kind of like knew that the first 40 years were going to be really really
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
And then on top I didn't even know about Pluto that was going to be, once I was like, "Oh, okay." So,
Hmm. J.K.
yeah.
Rowling, Oprah, it's kind of like that, like the success that comes in lasts more than it's like an empire. And I look forward. I look forward to that for all of us. And I think it's going to be exceptionally rewarding for you. And congrats in advance.
Thank you. Okay, so now that we have um Pluto moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, do you have any advice for Aquarians? Do you think it will be different for the Aquarians than it was for the Capricorns? Both Saturn ruled. But what do you think?
For Pluto, right? Pluto. What's really interesting is if we look at every theme that came up when Pluto went 0 degrees Aquarius, because it retrograded back in Capricorn, that was a sneak peek of a lot of what's going to spill over. One thing that immediately came, it was cool when Saturn went 0 degrees Aquarius, we were socially distanced for the first time and we saw crazy censorship. Then when
Mhm.
Pluto went that 0 degrees, this AI chat GPT shit blew up completely. Even though it's been
Yeah.
in development, that's when it moved forward. And we already started to see people like, hey, like Elon Musk saying, like, hey, you guys should probably chill on that AI before it takes us over or whatnot, or just to kind of relax. So we were definitely going to get ready to see some extraordinary themes that I don't think we've ever seen before.
Oh,
Zombies, vampires, aliens, but there's the folklore interpretation and then there's the real world reality of what it will look like. And I think we're going to get maybe, the in between. I believe Pluto awakened Capricorns. So the awakening of Aquarius is like Viltrumites or aliens who have been in their human suits that are finally just going to take off their human suits and probably try and subjugate all of humanity. It's crazy. I want to make sure I'm saying everything crazy because the last Pluto and Aqua transformed so much of humanity, whether through colonialism or wars, that it's literally what we're going through now. So we're part of this generation. Like it's going to be beyond, I think, anything we can conceive right now. And the major facet of this, if Pluto and Capricorn awakened the latent energy in our body to harness psychically, Pluto and Aquarius is going to awaken our mind so that we can now harness this energy to use our bodies as vehicles to actually harness chakra and life force at a collective level. And I think that's the revolution because if Capricorn is dying, all of the corporations, all of the gas and energy that we spend so much money for will be obsolete if we can harness it from our bodies. And I think that's going to be the next major conflict. Yeah. Mhm.
three Capricorn. So
Yeah.
he's
I thought
right.
he was zero aqua, but he's 29 cap. You're right.
Yeah. So, like, for the good Capricorns, are we going to be okay?
Oh
The
yeah,
bad Cap.
absolutely. It's interesting too because I have not met a single Capricorn, moon included, who when Pluto was around their sun or moon, like they almost died. It was very crazy. Like like literally near death shit. So for me, I caught COVID, and I know Pluto is pestilence, but I know so many who got in near fatal car accidents. In fact, 2020, I got in a car accident that was supposed to kill me. So
I
yeah.
remember I was like you're live and you had released your song and then you got into the car accident.
Mhm. It was the day I had written it, and that live, I was just going off naming names, and then someone who was drunk off spirits ran a red light. I wasn't even angry at the driver. I was like, "You were used, sir, to take me out." But yeah, the it's it's a lot of Capricorn is ruthless. Capricorn, I feel like, is that ruthless father that loves their child, so they're going to be harder on that child than anybody else. And I feel like for those of us that made it out through there, especially the Capricorn sons, it's definitely integrity based. So it going into Aquarius is going to be a huge breather for sure. Um, it's just hard to put my finger on because we're coming into that final part. It's like this is what's really going to put everything into perspective. So I think going through the thick of such transformation, now that it's finally ending, is going to allow you to see, oh, wow, I've grown. I knew I grew, but like I didn't know there was all this power in me that really kind of came out. And I love that you brought up Dr. Fauci because it'd be interesting to see, you know, how that works through, how these continue to be. Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, two Capricorns, have been
She's also
thoroughly
a
exposed.
Capricorn.
What was that?
Ghislaine is also a Ghislaine is
Yeah.
also
With
a
Saturn in Capricorn too, on her sun.
oh,
So she had a return when that happened, which is wild.
okay. They're gonna release the list or the people on January 1st also,
Mhm.
so
Why does it feel like a movie?
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It does. It really does. And I feel like Pluto and Aquarius coming up, like to kind of touch on what you said about like aliens and vampires and stuff like that. I think that the world we live in is a lot more mystical, magical, esoteric than the last 100 years allowed us to know. And I think that the Pluto and Aquarius, yes, I think the Pluto and Aquarius is going to show you not necessarily like a vampire with fangs,
Right,
but
exactly. Yeah.
you'll start to see, like, I don't know if you saw the there's a lot of like child abuse stuff coming out right now. There's that woman Ruby Frankie in Utah who was like doing really horrible things to her children. She's also born,
Wow.
but I think we're going to recognize how people feed off of other people's
Mhm.
energy. Not like I'm going to sink my teeth into you. I think it's going to be like I think we're going to understand
I
more
have chills.
like
Because that's it.
what was that?
That's it, Candace. Like, there's what we've been seeing in folklore, and then we're gonna be like, oh, that's what a vampire is. That's a zombie. And I mean, we've
Yes.
we've been revealed the aliens, we've been revealed the zombie virus, and they're already kind of, you know, there's energy vampires out there, but yeah, like a lot of our understanding of the world is gonna be revealed to be a lie, and this is going to open the door to fantasy creatures, mystical creatures. But what Aquarius will teach us is that everything that exists can be explained by science. And now, unlike before, our ancestors didn't have the technology, or maybe they did. We have some form of magic through technology. We program the magic into the devices, and this is just going to really bring that back. And then also magic, which through religion was demonized as evil, and then science made as a fraud, is coming back. So we're getting ready to have all that come back through us. And yeah, shout out to the Capricorns of integrity who held the fort. I feel like that opened you up to like, I think the difficulty of having that power is you kind of feel everything, especially with the Cancer moon. So it's like the psychic attack is real, even from people who may not even know they're projecting on you. I'm assuming, do you have Neptune in Capricorn too?
I have I know I have Mercury in Capricorn.
Okay.
Let's see. I have I have Neptune in Sagittarius.
Oh, okay. Okay. With Uranus too?
What was that?
With Uranus in Sagittarius too?
Yeah. In my seventh and eighth houses and Venus. So Venus,
Oh, Venus
Uranus,
too. Okay.
and Jupiter. Sagittarius.
So you have
I
the
have a lot.
Gemini rising version. I'm so sorry for interrupting, but I've been studying this for a while where the Cancer risings in the 90s have Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn. And then the Leo risings in the 2000s have Uranus and Neptune in Aquarius. So I didn't realize you're the 80s version with Gemini rising. And like my theory around that is the Capricorns, like the Uranus and Neptune, you are literally gaining extra dimensional intuitive psychic information that's unseen about other people, and the Capricorns can feel it on people's bodies. The Aquas already know, and I mean, I guess as a Gemini rising you see it. I'm assuming that you literally see people just snitch to you. I can imagine, like they just show you who they are. That's amazing.
It's
Wow.
It's for sure because it is very hard for me to exist in this world. And I've really kind of like found other ways of supporting myself that I don't have to be exposed to, like working with the public. And even now, working with the public, it's one room. I work with one person at a time. It's very, very hard for me to be out in this world because so many people lie to themselves for survival. I
Mhm,
understand, but for
mhm,
me,
mhm.
when I look at people and I look at situations, it's like a computer. I'm like, boop, 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 boop. Like, just do this and it won't be like that. So, but
Mhm.
like people lie to themselves. And so it's been
Yeah.
for, it's been, especially, I went to Catholic school. I know you went to Catholic school
Oh
as well.
yeah, West Storm.
So,
I bet
yeah.
people project so much on you too. So I have a question because in knowing that the first four signs are individual, the next four signs, Leo to Scorpio, are social. I call them the supers. And then Sag, Cap, Aqua, Pisces are collective, the gods, right? So as a moon in Cap, Sun in Gemini, I consider myself a collective individual. Kanye's a collective individual. Hitler's a collective individual. People, I know that's a horrible example, but people who have like the collective soul and individuality, and then I have an individual personality. So you would have you would be an individual collective power, aka an individual goddess. Cancer is holy, so this is the holy goddess archetype as the individual, true individual personality. So, what is it like to feel like an individual, but then your spirit is still collective? Like you're still like everything, or you direct
It's a lot. It's a lot. I feel conflicted a lot.
everything. Mhm.
I feel conflicted a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Because
literally like you're fighting. It's like you're opposite, right? You feel the individuality, but you have to show, I
my
guess.
individuality keeps me an enemy of the collective.
Oh, that's poetry right there. I love that so much.
It's like I I am such an individual, and I am so, like, I talked to my grandmother the other day, and she's an Aries, and I said to her, I've done a lot of healing, and I could tell she kind of like got annoyed. I said, yeah, and I just like, she's like, oh, well, you're very confident, but it doesn't make me, like, my confidence in myself doesn't make me a good part of a group, but all I want to do is be a part of the group.
That's deep.
It's very conflicted.
Yeah, that's very deep. Okay. And that's really good to know. Um, Especially from just that sun sign angle. And I feel like what it means to represent Capricorn isn't the same as what it used to be in like the 80s and 60s. And Gemini is another kind of vibration. It's somewhat timeless, but like it's interesting to see how the context of society shifts the context of how the signs play out, and who thrives in certain ages versus who's stifled in other ages.
Yeah. Well, like, I love to get ahead. I love that I'm such a Capricorn, right?
Mhm.
But I'm also super nurturing. But you have to understand, like, my 0-degree Cancer moon and my Capricorn sun, they're like
0 degrees.
opposite.
Okay.
I have children, right? Even though I'm like a natural mother. But because of the Capricorn hardness of life, I've been like, I have to process my own trauma
Mhm.
before, it's complex. But I think I probably, if I didn't have a Cancer moon, I would have done so great in the 80s. Like, I would have been a power bitch, 100%.
And what degree is your sun?
26.
Oh, so it's near the end. That's deep.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So
Which
it's right
which
like that.
does work it because of the Pluto and Aquarius. I'm like, how much more, you know,
Hmm.
do I have to go through? Like, I've had enough. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
that's powerful. That's very powerful.
What do you think about, in your experience in life? Do you think that there's any one sign that tends to be the black sheep in the family?
Oh, that's a really good question. I really enjoy because like when I first learned astrology, it was easy to look at the signs as separate from each other, and in, in understanding that you know it's only how we, I guess, because we can't see beyond the third dimension, we have to kind of like break these things down. So what I learned is that in truth, even though there's in truth, each zodiac sign will show you how someone can be a black sheep, and yet at the same time, mathematically, Aries, Aquarius, Pisces, and Taurus placements will produce more black sheep just because they are antisocial. So the whole disposition of what they do takes them away from social activity, has them do their own thing. It's not to say you won't see a Libra black sheep or a Sagittarius black sheep. One will be a black sheep by going out all the time. The other will be a black sheep by just burning everything to Chris Sagittarius. But it's warrants a case study. But I would say Aquarius, late Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, um, can be. I mean, I love the question of what sign really would be, but in a way, every zodiac sign could be a black sheep. It's just once again, when you think about what it means to be a black sheep, where yeah, you can see it in any sign, but a lot of it really ties into not conforming, not really adopting conformist social attitudes. So that's going to bring the whole left side of the zodiac: Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer will be more likely to be black sheep than the social axis or like those that go out.
Okay,
Yeah.
because they're more social, you think?
Yeah. Even though Scorpio is Scorpio, you would think Scorpio is the black sheep, but
Yeah.
you know, that might just be on the surface. Even though it is black sheep energy. So this is where you'll get every flavor of it. But I kind of theoretically like to see that pattern of behavior to see, you know.
I feel like Scorpios tend to I've noticed that Scorpios are internally the black sheep, externally, they will fall in line with the family. But then I think a lot of times it brings out addiction issues because
Mm,
they're trying to suppress what they really want on the inside to fit
mm,
into the mold of the family and be accepted. And so they turn to drinking or drugs or sex
that's
or
interesting.
any that. I've noticed that a lot.
It's kind of, I appreciate Gemini and Scorpio because we are kind of inverse. So my Scorpio sister was the one reading the Goosebumps. She was in a Disney Sag Moon. She, for all types and purposes, was kind of the black sheep in our family. Although my mom and my sister and I both have Gemini. She's the only one with Scorpio. Beefing with my Cancer sister. So like she on the surface was like the black sheep of the family, versus now she's all Christian. She Christian in quotes, like that's what she won't let me read her birth time and stuff. Like she's more aligned with the family versus me, who got along with the family growing up. I'm the black sheep. I'm the only one that didn't get vaccinated in the family. Like I'm the only one doing different stuff. So even though she
Right.
looked like the black sheep and I didn't, I ended up being the black sheep and she's not. So it's just really interesting.
That is interesting. Well, I was
Yeah.
talking to the other day and I said, because she didn't know too much about astrology, I said, look, there's so many parts of your chart. It's not just the sun sign. I said, and
Right.
also, I'm going to ask you if you kind of agree with this. Certain parts of our lives correlate to different parts of our sign. So when you were
Mhm.
little, being a
Yep.
Gemini
Mhm.
sun,
Yeah.
you were talkative, you probably were, it was easy to talk to you, to get along with. But then as you developed your personality, Capricorn moon, and your emotions and your feelings, maybe that is what kind of like well, that's kind of interesting because the Capricorn in there, which
Mhm.
would be like your sun sign as you're a little kid, and then as you
Mhm.
grow, you tap into the moon, the emotions. um
And it was weird
moon.
because I was always shy growing up. It's interesting. As a baby, I was very talkative. Like, my mom has stories about me, like, being basically a bully, not to other kids, but just being so rambunctious. And then growing up, integrating it with the cat moon, I didn't know at the time why I would always hold myself back from expressing what I truly wanted to feel. I didn't know Saturn was on my moon. So that really stifled a lot. Versus now coming into the Saturn return, where I could express more and step into the Gemini, but I feel so much more Capricorn. Like I don't even want to really like be social like that. But yeah,
in- but well, who knows what your 40s will bring,
that's so true.
you
That's
know?
very true. Plus progress charts too, which is cool.
Yeah. And like another thing, I don't know if you're interested in this astrocartography. I'm sure you've seen this come up
Mhm.
on the TikTok.
I was skeptical,
I
but it is legit.
Well, it was just interesting for me because New Jersey's a Sagittarius,
Mm,
Manhattan Capricorn. Brooklyn is a
Okay.
Cancer. And I
Oh,
started my career in Manhattan, Capricorn, both me and
yeah.
Manhattan are Capricorns.
I love
And
that. Okay.
I got married in Brooklyn, which was starting a family in
Mhm.
Brooklyn, which is like Cancer, family, Brooklyn. It was just so interesting.
That is
I was
very
just like,
interesting.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, whoa, I started my family in Brooklyn, which is a Cancer, my moon,
Yeah.
right? But I got married on a full moon. I shouldn't have done that. Um, but I found it very, very interesting. And I
Yeah.
had such a hard time in New Jersey, like such a hard time.
Interesting. And the whole concept of like I was very skeptical at first, like the concept of marking a territory and giving it its sign, like I didn't think that it was that accurate. I thought there was a really room for placebo and us thinking certain things, but I'm so glad I was wrong. Like it's a very fascinating concept where that consciousness of the territory did have a start date. So there's still a land, right? But like all these spaces that have the energy of this, like America being a cancer and everything within each
Right?
spot, it's very, very amazing. And it's interesting to see how all that's going to be transformed when, a lot of these
Right.
territories don't really exist anymore. So that's also really
Right.
interesting.
And we'll think about it during the revolution. Well, it was during Pluto in Aquarius that everything was kind of being inhabited and given their birth dates. And
Yeah.
now we're seeing Pluto and Aquarius come back around and there's going to be kind of like new birth dates, right? So, and that'll
Well, there's
spark that,
genocides happening right now as we speak.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like the last time it was there, genocides. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yes. So I just think it's very, yeah, I think it's super interesting. And did you ever live in Los Angeles?
I lived in Koreatown for like 4 months in 2014. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from like
How was your
January to
experience?
March. It was magical. It's actually what kicked off my YouTube channel because, all right, this story is always crazy. And this is what let me know Aquarius is different. So I got kicked out of my house in El Paso, Texas, because my mom caught me smoking weed. And she was like, "You have a bad influence here. I'm sending you to your uncle. You need a father figure." And I transferred to KU. And it's so crazy. My uncle, my favorite uncle, the Aquarius uncle, he has a Capricorn son, a Taurus daughter, and and I remember because my mom was telling me a long time ago, oh, yeah, your great grandfather, he was a witch doctor. Your great grandfather on your mother's side built a church, but on my father's side, he was a witch doctor, and your other great grandfather. And like they told us stories like he's teleported or brought fish back to life that his wife was cooking. So I was like, yo, like we never get told about this because my mom's Christian. She denounced all that. Her mom denounced all that, and they were gifted with these visions, but they just they don't really use it like that. So I was just wondering, like, in my head, who is this guy? Who is my great grandfather? I promise you, I said this in my head. I didn't really say it out loud because less than 24 hours later, my Aquarius uncle walks up to me and is like, I'm the reincarnation of your great grandfather, and everything that could be explained can be explained by science. I was like, what the fuck? He was talking about how aliens came to visit my ancient ancestors, and it sounded like a Bible story. But then he said I should stop doing astrology, which is crazy because the Aquarius mentor that I had before that brought me into traditional religion, mysticism, Santeria, and stuff, and he would do stuff with results. He was also like, fuck astrology. You guys wait for transits. We can just sacrifice stuff to the gods. And I didn't know at the time that I was kind of walking away from that old way people did it in pursuit of like this original, so it just reinforced my belief in astrology. But at the time, he had convinced me to delete my first YouTube channel. And I felt this
Oh,
sharp pain in my heart. I don't know why. I wasn't really sad, but it felt painful. And did that. He was like, "Don't worry, you graduate. I'll initiate you and whatever." And then a couple weeks passed. The beginning of February, I remember it. I opened up a Shopify account for the first time, created the Peace Dealer as a YouTube channel. The words just came to me saw the vision of what I wanted to do, started to do the planets and signs, and I was supposed to shovel the snow that day. And I didn't. I went outside. It was barely like snow on it. I was frustrated. In retrospect, I should have shoveled the snow. At that same day, an angel reader who I was talking back and forth from Vienna, who I would do astrology, she would read angel cards. And it's so funny because I was so skeptical about people doing angel cards. I knew she was legit, but just the concept of people doing angel cards, like, you're not, Archangel Gabriel doesn't tell you that. There's certain things that she would, like the very did that, and then the very day that I created my channel, she had done an initiation on me. She's like, yeah, I spoke to your angel, and just be careful. Your whole life can change. And I remember in my head thinking, yeah, okay. That same day, I got kicked out the house, and I had to somehow find a way to make it to California because my uncle was like, I told you not to do this YouTube, you a spirit you're doing or messing with my kids. I don't want him to do that or mess with them. You can either delete your channel or leave my house. And I said, peace. And I was, in Soul Garden with Chris Witecki. Shout out to Matt Turner. He happened to live in Kansas City. My uncle drove me to his place. And I appreciate that because Aquarius is my north node, it's my destiny. So my uncle kind of had to do that unknowingly. It's like, even though it was meant to get in my way, it ended up helping me. And so Matt was able to call an Aquarius lady from Venice Beach who needed her car driven from Wichita, Kansas to Venice. And this is how I got a ride. I literally drove myself to Cali and was able to, when I moved to Koreatown, get an apartment and create the videos that pretty much led me on the trajectory to get the buzz I did on my channel. Crazy stuff. I interviewed Alyssa Sharp for the first time while I was there. I met Leo King while I was in California. It was awesome. Yeah.
Whoa. Holy shit. But that is like the perfect example of one door closing and another door opening. And your uncle being the catalyst for that,
Mhm,
being an
mhm.
Aquarius, he was like closing one door of your world while simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He meant well, but yeah. It is what it is. And I had no idea how I was going. Like, that was the one moment that taught me, when you go all in for spirit, spirit has your back. Because I had no idea how I was gonna make a living in Cali. I had no idea how I was gonna get an apartment, and it all unfolded for me just like that. Yeah, crazy.
And like, I'm a big believer in God and the angels and the universe. And I think it all works together. For me, I see it all together. I can't say this doesn't exist or that. I really think it's all very magical and cool. And but I have very similar experiences where I didn't know where I was going to land. I just knew that I was giving it 150%, and things all kind of just lined up.
Nice.
So, if you're watching this, anyone out there, and things are falling apart,
Mhm.
just really put every single thing you have into it, and you'll eventually get to the right place. So, what do you have any words of wisdom? Anything that you want to say to everybody, the collective, for the
If
next?
I can if I can go back in time and smack the shit out of my younger self and tell him something, I would be like, your thoughts are things. Like I would just let him know the law of assumption is real. Like, I was so skeptical about it my whole life. Like, I didn't really it wasn't until my 30s I had to uncover trauma where it's like, I don't think I feel I deserve what I want, because I never really asked myself what. It wasn't until 30 years old that I started to ask, what do I want from relationships? Because I felt like I just need to give, give, give. I started to realize, no, you know what? I want someone to treat me like this. I'm not going to date someone unless they do this. You know what I mean? Or I feel like this or something, which at least just opened the door for what I kind of want or desire. And I didn't realize I suppressed my desires my whole life. I lived with my mom and my sisters. My mom has told me never to be in the same room as a woman, don't have sex before marriage. And just a lot of that influence, I subconsciously held back the desire. And that word of wisdom is literally, if I was skeptical about the fact that whatever you think, say, and see is what it is. You can make anything happen if you just keep on affirming, and not like affirming to wait for something to happen, but almost be Delulu and decide this is what it is. And if I knew how much that worked, I'd go back in time and let my younger self know it works, it works, it works. I promise you. Go crazy. Don't doubt yourself, please.
It does.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I watched The House of Kardashians the other day, and Kris Jenner's first job was scraping glaze off the ground at her donut shop, or a donut shop that she worked at. And I was on TV at 7, not because of my parents putting me on there or anything, just because I meant,
Wow.
like,
That's
my
awesome.
teachers would hand it daydreams all day. I wasn't daydreaming. I was imagining myself on set. Like, I was seeing it,
Wow.
and then by the time I was 7, I was on the fucking commercial set.
That's
And
amazing.
I was 7. I'm now 39. I'm like, Candace, your first job was being on TV. Kris Jenner, the ultimate mogul of the fucking world. Okay, her first job was scraping glaze off the ground at the donut shop. I was like, so please. And you're right. It's like I could talk all day about that, like feeling the deserving of what you want to manifest. And I'm also working through a lot of those things. But yes, be fucking Delulu. Because you could
Yeah.
have anything you want.
And of course, the true lesson is you're ultimately not being delusional. You're just the creator of your reality. And I learned how uncomfortable that makes people feel when you step in your power and you decide that you create your reality and people can't manipulate you. And how even more uncomfortable it makes people feel when you let them know they have that same power too. And they can't really blame the external reality for their problems because they could just change it just like that. Boom.
Yeah. Some people are addicted to being victims though. But you,
Oh yeah. Let's go.
Michael,
Yes. Appreciate it.
well, I love you. You're a doll. Thank you for joining me today on this live. I hope this helped somebody. I hope it reaches somebody. And hopefully we'll do
Oh
this
yeah, I
again soon.
definitely want to invite you on my channel again as well. So, and anytime you want to go live, let me know.
Love.
I could talk all day as well.
Absolutely. All right, Michael. All right, everyone. Until the next time, we'll see you later. Bye.